We will test and see if this is actually recording audio. This is one of the main scenario dungeons. It's a key part of the storyline for the main part of the game that's shipping 2.0. This is required for anyone to complete the story. Of the things that's unique about these main scenario quests is that they go into a queue that we can do randomly, but you're not allowed to skip the scenes. The reason for that is, in the beginning, when you could, someone would show up to this dungeon for the first time and be very interested in what was happening, the story. Everyone else would skip and move ahead. Sometimes entire bosses would be defeated while a person was still in a cutscene. So to fix that problem, Square Enix basically made it to where no one can skip the cutscene. So if you're queuing for main scenario, you are committing to, depending on which one you get, this is sort of the middle length at about 45 minutes. You're committing to anywhere between 20 and 20 minutes and an hour. There's a very short main scenario quest that is essentially a single fight that is very quick. It's rare to get that. So what we're going to do is progress through a guardian base, military base essentially. Guard quintessential bad guys who the realm is part of. So we have infiltrated their base. We are doing our best to undermine what they're doing, which is creating a giant robotic monstrosity that is capable of essentially destroying entire city-states if they want. So what we're doing is, this current mission is to infiltrate this base and take down its shields. It's protected in a dome. The dome over here. Take down the dome, which is where that monster of a robot is being housed. Now this particular dungeon, we will not fight that machine, which is called Ultima Weapon. We're really doing the precursor to that. That dungeon is another main scenario quest that is significantly longer than this one. I really hate getting that one. Too much guaranteed hour every time you get it. This one is pretty quick. I am playing on my Astrologian. A card-based healer. Essentially pull a card from a deck. Like a tarot card deck. Depending on which card we pick, we get different buffs. Those buffs can be manipulated, given to certain players. I can maybe get a card that increases mana regeneration, so I might give that to myself to save me some mana. I might get one that is essentially a healing shield that I might give to the tank or someone who is particularly vulnerable to being killed. There are some to increase damage dealt. Go obviously to a damage dealer. There's a card to increase spell speed and skill speed, make you attack faster. There's one to increase the critical damage, critical hit rate for the person who receives the card. So these cards kind of very basic. I cast spins, and now I have the ability to regenerate MP. So nobody really needs that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert that card. I burn it, and I convert it to a secondary buff. So now what that did was, since I didn't use that card, now next card I cast will be at 50% of its power, 50% of its duration, but it will apply to all targets in the area. So instead of giving that card to one player, next thing I use will apply to everyone that's within a certain distance of them. Very helpful for damage and critical spell, a critical hit apart. As we are approaching. Let's see, it says it's sealed off. That means somebody is already engaging the boss. This guy right here. This is our second dungeon. Very simple fight. Critical hit to everybody. I'm going to burn the card I got, which basically gives me another modifier of making the next thing I cast the AoE apply to everybody. Very cool. See over here, I am getting absolutely demolished. A lot of aggressive need to. I'm just kind of having fun. The spells that are really getting there. That's the circle over here. That means that enemy. It's like a tank finally got him off of me. Go back to other people, not just myself. And the boss is already dead. Very simple. Back when we did this the first time, that fight was very challenging. You actually had to have one tank go get all of those additional enemies and go a separate part. It's much more difficult than it is today. Things are cleared a lot easier. Cid, he is a he is a citizen of the Garlean Empire who has essentially defected. He used to work for them, and now he works for us. He's a brilliant engineer. He can use Magitech, which is essentially the mechanical and logical answer to magic. So I have magical abilities. Eorzi has magic. Garlemald, which is the country that these items and these people are from, they don't have magic there. So to obviously keep themselves strong, they develop technology. Help somebody. Cast protect. Shield on everybody. He died. He lost his shield, so we had to put back. So you can see he's riding in a machine that kind of looks like a weird Ed 209 combined with a dragon of some kind. He's basically blowing holes through doors for us as we continue through this base. Pieces of the barrier. Enemy abilities. Castrum. Get out of this as quickly as possible. Make sure that you take unnecessary damage. Sinking down to level 50, much higher than that. I'm level 70. Your stats are still very, very strong. You have to try really hard to die. Do something very silly. Get into an area you shouldn't. DPS or healer pull threat away and not be protected. Store that card, which gives me another, basically reduces damage. So it's a shield essentially. Reduces damage taken by 10% for 30 seconds, but I have that modifier on that will basically apply it to multiple people. It's going to be for half the time. I believe it's half the time. Let's see here. Well, same amount of time, so it must have reduced the effectiveness. Instead of it being a 10% reduction, I would assume it's a 5% reduction. So this healing class is based on stars, the celestial bodies. Their magic comes from looking into the heavens, reading the cards, reading the constellations, and determining people's futures. And they have these decks. They have an orb, which is called a globe, essentially. It's got the cards floating around. I also have a sleeve on my side. They're putting markers on the ground. I have a sleeve of cards, which is essentially where I'm drawing from. You see me do the spin move here. It's all about chance. Alright, so we got a damage buff here, so I'm going to save that and use a little mini boss now. A giant robot. Not bad. So a lot of my spells, I like this class because it's very unique. And it's impressive because it is partially random. I can't guarantee what cards you can get. There are some things I can do, like redrawing, put it away, burn it to manipulate it to give it a different effect. Things I can do to try to correct when I don't get a card that I want. However, it is still a little RNG based. The way that this class really benefits, though, is that it's really versatile. There are three healers. There's the White Mage, which is your very classic, deal a lot of damage, big heals. Boy, they are all on me. Running for my life here. Nobody's picking up there. They finally start to pick some of them up. The White Mage is the quintessential healer. They heal damage. They do good damage, and they heal damage. The Scholar is a healing class. So a Scholar essentially has a fairy with them, and a fairy does healing. They can heal, but they actually do a lot more damage. They focus more on damage and shielding their teammates, while their fairy does most of the healing. They do a lot of shields. White Mage does a lot of healing over time spells. So there's another part of the barrier down. Astrologian can do both. They can only do one at a time though. So essentially I have two stances, two sects my character can be in. A diurnal sect, think of more of like the daytime. That gives all of most of my abilities a regen effect. It basically makes me like a White Mage. Or I have the Nocturnal sect, which gives me shielding on some of my abilities, which makes me more like a Scholar. So I can adjust my playstyle using the same spells, they just work differently, depending on who my partner is. Poor Sid used his Magitech, but he broke it. It's dead now. So we're gonna have to continue on foot and keep trying to find different ways to blow up the last barrier. So since my partner is a Scholar, meaning she's doing a lot of shields, Fusion Function X here, doing a lot of shielding, I went into Diurnal Sect, which gives my abilities regen. So when I cast this heal, it puts Aspected Benefit, regenerating HP over time. That's a little bit of a riskier spell because it causes a lot of aggro. If it's on the tank and he pulls, it's healing instantly, which means anything he pulls is going to look at me. not something you want to cast on them unless they're going to be fighting for a long time. I also have Helios, which is a group heal, which puts a group regen effect. So you have one that's single target and one that is for the group. If I was in Nocturnal Sect for shields, I would have this spell doing shielding and this spell doing AoE shielding. Everything else, these are just single target large heals. This one, Essential Dignity, is a large, very large heal that does more healing the lower the target's health. In addition to, obviously, healers are expected to do damage. They really are. There are pockets of time in fights where your healing is very intense, and then there are periods of time where your healing is almost non-existent. So during that time, what are you doing? Well, if you're low on mana, you may be conserving mana and avoiding AoEs. If your mana is pretty high, mine's full right now, I should be doing as much damage as possible. So you cast Malefic, which is just a single target damage spell. Cast Combust 2, which is a dot damage over time. Starts hurting them. Now, because I'm level 50, I don't have access to some of my more fun spells. I've got spells put stuff on the ground. Where's this guy? Die. I have one that puts dome on the ground. I have one that puts down a healing circle that will explode and do damage and healing. Just some really fun stuff, but those are higher level spells. And since when you get synced down to do content like this to where everyone's the same level, it basically reads your character and says if you're a level 50 character, you only have access to skills that a person at level 50 or below would have. So you lose access to the things that you gain when you're at a higher level. Basically to keep things even. Buffs on our tank. Doing AoEs from the ship above us. Eventually it'll get hit enough by the cannons that we'll get another cutscene that says basically the ship is damaged.